Thanks very much, everybody. Thanks for such a great turnout. Mirasina Tagridar, Air Terminal Services Limited employee, a mother of 6, recently in an interview in the Fiji Times had this to say: some of us are working 24 hours, 60 hours and even 80 hours overtime per week. She says many of the workers feel sick because of the extra shifts. They complain about some of us taking too much sick leave, but we are only getting sick because we have been overworked. I'm still renting and I'm the only breadwinner of 6 children. This is what we have to do. We have sent our children to our relatives so they can help us take care of them, because they know that we are not getting enough to survive. For 11 years, we haven't received any bonuses or any COLA like we used to get before 2007. I've been with ATS for 22 years, and I know the difference in the management that we used to have and what we have now. Workers used to get paid really well, and when I first started in the catering department, but now we have to work extra hours to earn a decent income. The combination of 11-year pay freeze, standover tactics by the company, attempts by this company to turn around and intimidate, and allegations of sexual harassment and discrimination and sexual bullying led to an unprecedented meeting taking place of workers to meet with ATS management. The same company that these workers actually own 49% shareholding in, whilst the government owns 51%. And as a result of this unprecedented action, where families have just had enough, where the kids deserved better, they need to see their parents, they also need to be able to sustain their lives with income from this operation after this 11-year wage freeze. And the response from the government and ATS was to terminate those workers and lock them out. This is an indecent, improper company and government that is turning around and harassing and intimidating workers right across this very important business. What's happening through this militant action by the government and by ATS is putting the tourism industry in Fiji at substantial risk. This ongoing militant action means that they're using at their airport untrained staff, planes that have been damaged, as we've recently seen with Air New Zealand not being reported, hospitalisation of workers, security of staff not being checked to see what risks they are to aviation, both terrorism and potential criminal activity. And we're finding people putting at direct risk as a result of this government's action. But on the same side, we're seeing the local community saying that we will not put up with being exploited by this company or this government. Under the laws of Fiji, this lockout is simply illegal, but the Fijian government is failing to back its own community against this company.
Shame.
It's critically important that we stand out and speak out about this fight. I can only see the action getting more militant. I can only see the action from the government continuing on its militancy against local communities that are determined to fight for their families and their community rights. And just like them, we're there to support them. What we're saying to the government, and we're saying this to the travelling public, this government's militant action will only lead to more people reconsidering going to Fiji. This militant action is precipitating a response that is only going to get more and more difficult, more and more confrontational as this dispute goes on. And what quietly the government needs to consider is its impact at its hands, and its decision to turn around and take its own community on means that people will not be travelling to Fiji. And I'd say this to the travelling public: whilst the government is turning around and intimidating its local community, you need to reconsider whether you want to be in the middle of that militant fight right on the doorstep of your holiday. And I'd say this to everybody here, and is that we are determined to lend our support, lend our actions in support of the Fijian community against this atrocious attack by this company, and call on the Fijian government to protect the tourism industry, protect its community, and hold these employers to account by enforcing your laws against this company. It'll be better for Fiji, it'll be better for tourism, and it'll be most importantly better for the local community to receive its just deserves in getting decent wages, decent rates, and the sexual harassment and discrimination to discontinue. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, everybody. We are here at the Fijian Consulate this morning to send a very clear message to our comrades, our colleagues in Fiji, that Australian unions support them in every way. We have a long and proud history of international solidarity here at the Australian Trade Union Movement, and unfortunately that history has involved Fiji for some time. Since the Bainimarama government with the Kayums have been in charge of that country, we unfortunately have seen huge transgressors when it comes to human rights and workers' rights. We know that workers have not had their rights upheld by this government. We know that trade unionists have been jailed, have been beaten, have been harassed, have not had their rights as workers or as unions upheld by their very own government. And it's a sad indictment that we have to stand here on the steps of the Fijian Consulate and once again to say that those rights of workers in Fiji are being abused by their own government, who are supporting an employer who, as we heard before, is breaking the law by locking out 200 workers for doing nothing more than attending a meeting to raise awareness of management transgressions that include things like sexual harassment, that include things like not having a pay rise for 11 years. These are rights. Workers' rights are human rights. And I am very proud that the trade union movement is taking this to the streets in Fiji. They had a great rally last weekend where thousands of people, thousands of Fijians came out to support those workers, to say they will not give in to the threats and intimidation of that government, to sign documents to say they will go back to work and just forget everything as if it never happened. They are not going to do that. They want their rights upheld. And where there is a union, there is power to uphold human rights, because that is what we stand for. We stand for it here in Australia and internationally in solidarity with their colleagues. What the ATS is doing is a terrible violation of their workers' rights, and we cannot stand for it. And that has spilled over, as Tony said, into the very safety of our own citizens who are travelling to Fiji. And how can our government, our foreign minister, just sit blithely by and accept that? It is a shocking disgrace that she has not even bothered, Julie Bishop, to respond to our requests to take this issue up with the Fijian government. And if she has, she certainly hasn't told us, and we have seen no action. Australian tourists are at risk because those workers who attend to the safety of those planes are being replaced by people who are unqualified to do that job. And as was mentioned before, we've already seen an unsafe situation with a plane landing in Auckland from Nandi. We cannot let this situation go on any longer. I want the people behind me to say that the unions will fight this, because where there is union, there is power. When I say union, you say power. Union! Power! Union! Power! Union! Power! There is power in the people standing together. There is power in a union, and we will stand with the Fijian workers till this ends. Thank you, everybody.
Woo! Hey, hey! What do you say? No to lockouts, no way! Hey, hey! What do you say? No to lockouts, no way! Hey, hey! What do you say? No to lockouts,